At Food Revolution Network, our mission is healthy, ethical, and sustainable food for everyone who eats. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school. We want doctors to learn how nutrition impacts health in medical school. We want the routine use of antibiotics banned from factory farms. We want a world where everyone, regardless of their ethnic or economic background, has knowledge of and access to healthy food for their family. We want a world in which heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, obesity, and diabetes are rare, and in which vibrant health is the status quo. We're spreading the word and standing for change. And with every empowerment package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, enabling them to plant an organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Join this movement and support this mission. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is for you. I'm Ocean Robbins, and I'm so excited that in about 15 minutes, we're going to begin the broadcast of episode 8 in the Food Revolution Summit Docuseries. It's kind of a bittersweet moment. Today is our last day of broadcasts, but hopefully the first day of the rest of our lives for many of us as we learn to apply all that we're learning here and experience the healing, the transformation that can ensue. Today, our focus is Earth on the Line, how your food choices can change the world. What we eat has an impact on the entire planet. In fact, we can reduce deforestation and pollution. We can say no to animal cruelty. We can even take a bite out of world hunger. We can improve public health. We can even improve the world's economies and the economies of nations. Join us today. We're going to explore the critical connection between our food choices and the fate of the planet and see how good it can feel to be a part of the solution. This is going to be huge, and I'm so glad that you are here with us. If you just joined in, we'll be starting our broadcast of episode 8 in about 14 minutes. I'm Ocean Robbins, your host, and I'm welcoming you. As we move through this day, please continue to post and share in the comment section on the broadcast page. Share your top takeaways, your ahas, your breakthroughs, your epiphanies, what it means to you, what's alive in your heart. And also make sure to engage with others, see what they're saying. You can like their comments, you can respond to them, and refresh the comments regularly using the button provided there if you want to see the most recent ones that have been submitted. Mary said, "Thank you for your clarity in explaining that all food in moderation is not a healthy approach. I have a family member who has suffered greatly from multiple eating disorders triggered by a 2020 COVID infection. The caring healthcare professionals I reached out to support my family member labeled veggies and fruits as wasted bites, and our desire to not eat the standard American diet through her recovery process as disordered eating. This resulted in my family member rejecting all clinical support for meal planning to recover, which has caused me a lot of fear as I knew nothing about eating disorders or even how to cook. The silver lining is that this led me to FRN, as I need to be the one who brings this knowledge and healing approach into my family. I'm still overwhelmed, but I know that I am on the right track. Thanks to FRN." Well, Mary, thank you so much for being here and raising this, and I'm sorry to hear of this. You know, we live in a toxic food culture. So often what's considered normal is food that is statistically directly linked to increased risk of every major chronic illness of our times. And so learning how to eat differently than the norm is a critical survival skill in this world. I'm so glad that you're taking that on, not just for yourself, but for your family. Bless you, and thank you for being a part of this with us. Kathy said, "Ocean, I have multiple sclerosis, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, and I'm doing physical therapy on my right knee. I bought the empowerment package and I've soaked it all in more than once. My husband was wondering if there was anything in particular to help his enlarged prostate. Your insight and opinion would be greatly appreciated. I bought the ingredients for the first salad recipe you had for us to try." Well, Kathy, thanks so much for asking. In terms of the specific consideration around enlarged prostate, research suggests that there are a few things that may lessen the symptoms or help. So one is avoiding liquids a few hours before bedtime or before going out. Another is to limit caffeine and alcohol because these can stimulate the urge to urinate. Another is to eat a low-fat diet. There's a link between eating a lower-fat diet and reducing enlarged prostate symptoms and issues. Another is to eat a large variety of vegetables every day. It seems like variety is key and also quantity. So vegetables are super, super helpful. And eating a few servings of fruits daily, including especially citrus fruits, can be super helpful. Participating in moderate to vigorous physical activity most days of the week is great. And as with most conditions, maintaining a healthy weight. So if there's excess weight, then bringing that down is critical. And all these things we're talking about can help with that. And regular exercise is helpful. And by the way, all the things I just mentioned can also lower risk of erectile dysfunction as well as diabetes and also heart disease. So hopefully that's of support to your husband and to you as well. Ka said, John and Ocean and all of the wonderful guest speakers who have made this summit available for free, I send you my deepest gratitude. I have idiopathic inflammation and scar tissue in my airway that requires surgery to expand just so I can breathe. I'm determined to make a dietary change for my family, and I appreciate all the valuable information that I've received from this summit. I look forward to making changes to include more fruits and vegetables and wean off the animal products to help our planet and our health. It's a win-win. Thank you for bringing hope to my family and the whole planet. May the food revolution spread across the globe. Well, Ka, thank you so much for that. And yes, it is a win-win. We're going to learn more about the win-win of that today as we look more deeply at the powerful impact that our food choices have to shape our future. If you're somebody like me who cares about the world that our children are going to inherit, who sometimes feels concerned about the state of things on this planet, who would love more than anything to leave a living legacy of health and beauty for future generations, then I think you're going to love today's episode. And I'm so glad you are here with us. Sorry to hear about the painful challenges that you're going through. And we wish you healing and reduced inflammation and wellness in every cell and many, many healthy breaths to come. So lots of love to you in the journey. Natalie said, I want to thank you so much for creating this. It's given me hope in a time that's been pretty dark for me. I recently lost my grandmother who I had been taking care of in Canada. She was 99 and lived a full life, was an amazing sleeper, married 65 years, survived World War II, all of which I think contributed to her longevity. She was my best friend. While my father is still alive, he sadly can no longer speak nor move due to Alzheimer's that is attributed to his rugby concussions he played in South Africa growing up. So I find myself with no remaining immediate family and struggling with my own health, both physically and mentally. So this summit has been a source of inspiration. I've stayed up too late to catch everything, so I'm beat now when I really just wanted to say a million thank yous. I want to find a way to embody and share this information as I think nothing is more important than health. Natalie, thank you so much for writing and engaging and participating. So sorry to hear of these losses and so grateful that you are here with us. You know, when you talked about that sense of loneliness that you're feeling, you didn't use that word, but that's what I'm feeling from you. You know, I think a lot of people feel lonely in some part of themselves in this modern world. People are going so fast and there's so many people on this planet, but a lot of us feel at some level a sense of disconnection or isolation. And one of the things that can be an antidote to that, that can build connection, is actually purpose. And so I think as we feel the food revolution movement growing in our lives and hopefully taking root in your life, maybe we can feel that it does connect us in some powerful way, a bit intangible, but also palpable, that we are all part of something. And so everybody who's watching right now, if you want to eat differently than the norm, if you want to eat in ways that are aligned with your highest well-being, if you want to contribute to a world in which healthy food is available to all, a world of sustainability and peace and kindness and vitality and wellness for humanity, you're in the right place. And you're also part of something. The food revolution is growing rapidly. Think about the fact that there are over 300,000 people participating in this summit right now. Think about all the spread of eaters who are saying, no, enough is enough of a toxic food culture. Yes, it's time to value our health and our well-being, to learn, get informed, and make food the foundation of our health, not pharmaceuticals, not drugs and surgeries, not accepting a status quo that's a one-way street towards increasing suffering and disease and death. No, we can do something better, and we are doing something better. And if you can feel that, maybe that can at least touch a little bit that place in that heart that feels empty and alone. And know we're with you. We're sending you love and strength and courage and perseverance to help make the best choices for yourself, for your life, for your well-being, and for all that you love. If you've just joined us, we'll be starting episode 8 in the Food Revolution Summit docuseries in about 5 minutes. I'm Ocean Robbins, and I'm sharing some welcoming words. Parul said, I tried yesterday's one-pot burrito bowl recipe, and the entire family enjoyed the meal. Thank you for sharing these delicious recipes. Thank you so much, Parul. And in case anybody doesn't know yet, every single day of this summit, we have 3 more amazing recipes of the day. They're all on the bottom of the broadcast page. And these are incredible whole foods, plant-based feasts from Nicole D'Andrea Russert, Food Revolution Network's lead dietitian and recipe developer. And in case anybody didn't hear, we do have a book coming out October 31st, so it's a ways away, but if you want to be one of the first people to pre-order it, you can do that. It's called Real Superfoods, Everyday Ingredients to Elevate Your Health, and it focuses on the real superfoods, not high-priced, super fancy-dancy things that nobody can afford from some faraway land. The real superfoods that are basic staples that can do the most good for the most people, and how to enjoy them with amazing, super healthy, super yummy recipes. Marjorie said, I thought I knew a lot about nutrition as I've studied it for the past 30 plus years, but I've learned so much more by watching this summit. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marjorie, truly. And I feel so blessed. You know, we interviewed 45 people for this summit docuseries. Each of them has years, in most cases, many decades of experience at the forefront of understanding the links between food and health and planetary survival. And it's so incredibly inspiring and heartening to get to learn from their wisdom and to get to distill it and bring it and share it with you. So thank you for being here and participating and making the most of this learning. It is such a feast in the best possible way. Mona said, hi everyone from Louisiana. This program has saved my life. Love it and look forward to each summit. I lost 50 pounds and put my autoimmune disease in remission. Great information. Thanks again. Mona, thank you. Jennifer said, we have a 19-year-old special needs daughter with seizures. I put her on a whole foods plant-based vegan diet just over 3 years ago, and they stopped. Jennifer, that's wonderful. Thank you for telling us. Lou said, what an impressively thorough, compassionate, informative, and life-changing summit you've put together. My gratitude is endless. You've helped me and the family and friends I've now shared the replays with, not to mention the world at large. This is a genuine gift to the world, a bright light and beacon of hope during times that have been unfathomably difficult for oh so many. Prayers of gratitude sent your way, and to that of all those who have participated in putting this together, not to mention all the good people watching and commenting. Lou, thank you for that, and I also want to take a moment to give thanks to all the people who have put this together, all of our incredible speakers, of course, but also all of the Food Revolution Network staff, all of the team members, all of the partners who have helped to make this happen and spread the word. And I also want to thank all our participants, all of those comments, thousands and thousands and thousands of comments, pouring your hearts out, sharing your questions, sharing your epiphanies. It means so much to feel this. And for anybody who wants a dose of hope, go ahead and read through some of those comments, see what this is meaning to people, and realize we are not alone. This is a powerful movement that is building. Every single comment, human beings who care, who engage, who participate, real lives on the line. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. Charlotte said, thank you for having the courage to put this message out there, and every year it gets better. The interview with Dr. Columbus Batiste brought me to tears. What a great interview for multiple reasons, and it carries a timeless message for all of us. Thank you so much, Charlotte. It sounds, by the way, in case anybody is wondering about the interview with Dr. Batiste, it sounds like Charlotte is referring to the full uncut interview. You see, for this summit, we interviewed 45 of the world's leading food experts. In this docuseries, we're only able to bring forth some of the highlights and snippets that fit in with each episode from that incredible bank of amazing interviews. If you get the advanced empowerment package, then you can have all of the interviews uncut for life, which means you can dive deep with specific speakers on specific topics that you want to go further with. And you can also get the audio version so you can listen on the go if you want to and absorb all this wisdom anytime you want. So that's one of the real advantages of the advanced package for those who are able to step forward and get it. Let's see, we have so many amazing comments and we don't have time for very many right now because we are about to begin episode 8. As we move through this day, please continue to share what you think, including your top takeaways and aha moments and how this all lands in your life. And make sure you refresh the comments using the button provided there so you can see the latest ones that have been submitted. We'll be back for more questions and answers and conversation after this episode, but now it is time for Earth on the Line. Here we go.
It's time for Food Revolution.
The food revolution is taking over.
The food revolution is life-changing.
The food revolution is essential.
Empowering.
Imperative.
The food revolution is rooted in compassion.
Inspiring.
Fantastic.
Life-saving.
The food revolution is transformative. It's powerful, and it's much needed in this time.
It's time for a food revolution.
It is time for a food revolution.
It's time for a food revolution.
So far in this docuseries, we've been primarily focused on the connection between diet and health. And we've seen over and over again that a plant-based diet made up of unprocessed and minimally processed foods is strongly associated with better health and more vitality, more positive mood, and much lower risk of chronic disease and disability and premature death.
In this episode, we're going to see that the benefits of a whole food, plant-based diet, as wonderful as they are for human health, also extend far beyond the individual. We're going to explore how industrialized animal agriculture is fueling climate chaos. We'll find out how overfishing is impacting our oceans, and we'll look at the wider social and economic impacts of our food choices.
This is about to get really big. You're going to find out how powerfully your food choices can help to shape the future of life on Earth.
Yes.
And we'll also explore the ethics of our food. Specifically, we'll pull back the curtain on one of the most secretive industries in the world, factory farming. You don't have to be a vegetarian or an animal rights activist to want humans to treat animals humanely.
Very true. So in this episode, we're going to focus on the big picture of the food system, and we're going to offer blueprints for transforming it into one that prioritizes the health of humans, the larger world of nature, and the planet Earth itself.
Because as humans, we have a profound responsibility for our impact on animals and on our precious planet. And as you'll see, the future of life on Earth is never so much in our hands as when we sit down to eat.
Yes. So let's begin by tackling what might be the biggest elephant in the environment, climate chaos. First of all, how serious is this problem, really?
Well, we have been here before, or rather, the planet has been here before. There was a mass extinction roughly 252 million years ago, which brought the Permian period to an end. And it's believed that the major component of that mass extinction, believe it or not, was fossil fuel burning. Not by humans, obviously, because humans didn't exist at the time. But what seems to have happened is that volcanic eruptions in the area we now know as the Siberian Traps built a huge cap of solidified lava over the volcanoes there, and then subsequent lava couldn't escape. And so it was forced down these cracks in the rocks into sedimentary deposits which were full of coal and other hydrocarbons. And it burnt that coal, it cooked it and released carbon dioxide and methane in vast quantities. And that warmed the planet by between 8 and 10 degrees centigrade. But we believe that when it reached about between 3 and 5 degrees of global heating, that was sufficient to trigger a mass extinction that helped to wipe out 90% of the species on Earth. There were no four-footed animals left, with very few exceptions, below about 30 degrees north and above about 40 degrees south. Almost all the fish were wiped out in the same area. The large animals which existed in the Permian were pretty well completely exterminated, and they were replaced by dwarf faunas. And it took 5 million years for biological abundance to return, and much, much longer for biological diversity to return. Basically, our life support systems at that point more or less collapsed. And that's what we face today, the potential collapse of our life support systems. And it's very hard to imagine what that looks like, because humanity has never been there. We've faced many horrors, wars and genocides and famines and all sorts of horrendous events, but none of them compare to the scale of what we're talking about here. It's the greatest predicament humanity has ever faced, the collapse of the conditions that make life, our lives, and that of many other species on the planet possible. The Earth systems, they don't respond to pressure in linear and gradual ways. They absorb stress, and then they suddenly collapse. And they collapse into a new equilibrium state, other than the one in which we evolved, a state which is highly likely to be hostile to human life. And unless we radically curtail our greenhouse gas pollution and radically curtail the damage that we're doing to the living planet, then that collapse could happen.
If you think about the human body, if our temperature goes up by even a few degrees, we get a fever and we feel awful. If it goes up a few more, our life could be at risk. The planet is in some ways similar. It's a carefully balanced web of relationships, and if we throw it off enough, then everything is at risk.
Thinking about the collapse of our global biosphere can be pretty frightening, and some of us might be tempted to give in to despair, or to narrow our gaze to the moment and give up hope for the future.
Yes.
But this doomsday scenario hasn't happened yet, which for me is a reason to do all that we can. Our children and our grandchildren have every right to expect us to protect their future to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
And the good news is there is still a lot that we can do.
There really is. And it turns out that it isn't too far-fetched to say that the fate of the world is in some ways in our hands, or on the end of our forks. Now, food isn't optional. Everybody needs to eat. And now that the human population is 8 billion and counting, we've got to be really efficient in how we use our limited land and resources so that everyone can be fed, and so that we can minimize the negative impact from the foods that we eat and the way that we grow them.
So here's the bind in which we find ourselves. We've been keeping ourselves alive by means of very intensive production, using a lot of ploughing, a lot of herbicide, a lot of pesticide, a lot of fertilizer, a lot of irrigation water to maintain the high yields required to feed 8 billion people. And we have to feed 8 billion people. You know, a measure of our humanity is that we ensure that everybody is adequately fed, and we've been failing to do that. And in fact, we're now failing more than we were before. Hunger was declining pretty consistently between the 1960s and 2014, but from 2015, it's been rising, and that's principally due to systemic failures within the global food network.
And when it comes to efficiency, animal agriculture is not about to win any gold star awards.
Animal agriculture has to be one of the most inefficient operations that humans have ever devised. The idea is to turn plant energy into animal muscle so you can eat the animal muscle. First of all, if people would just eat the plants, if they would eat the corn and beans and potatoes themselves, they would certainly get far more efficient transfer of energy. Because what happens when that animal eats the corn or eats the grains, etc., first of all, most of it passes out the back end as manure. Much of the other energy is radiated off as heat, muscle activity as the animal just walking around there. And so much more of the protein and energy is turned into components that people don't eat, into bones and blood and hide and hair and things that people don't eat. So the actual amount of muscle of steak or chicken breast that you get for all the grains that you put in there is just thermodynamically just a tiny, you've lost most of the energy.
There was a large study published in the National Academy of Sciences that looked at 38,700 farms from 119 countries. They looked at 40 food products that produce 90% of what we eat as a population around the world. And they found that 80% of the land is utilized for animal agriculture, for livestock. And it produces just 18% of calories and 37% of our protein. So for the world population, this is a disproportionate use of land for food, especially when we're looking at just 18% of the calories coming from 80% of our land. And the use of that land is destructive for livestock and animal agriculture. It leads to contamination of waterways, destruction of savannas and forests, destruction of biodiversity. It's not just that we're using the land, we're actually abusing the land in the production of food and stripping the land of its resources and contaminating our waterways to produce only 18% of the calories. And when I see statistics and studies like this, it tells me this is completely unsustainable. We can't do this for 20 more years or 30 more years or 50 more years. There's not enough land to feed the growing population without having a major crisis. In fact, we're at a crisis point already.
We know that we need to make significant changes, and to see things happening like the Amazon rainforest being burned so that we can have more space for cattle and growing feed for cattle is alarming, and we need to make a change, or our children and our grandchildren are not going to have a livable planet because it's going to be too hot.
Farming occupies 38% of the land surface, and the great majority of that is ranching. 12% of the land surface is crops, of which about half are being grown to feed livestock. 26% is ranching. What about the rest of the planet? Well, it's forests, protected areas, mountains, deserts, and snow and ice. So the only places into which farming can expand, and unfortunately it is expanding into them, is forests and protected areas. And again, it's ranching which is largely responsible for that expansion and the destruction of those ecosystems. And all that land occupied by ranching is land which could be occupied by wild ecosystems. This is generally very unproductive land. You produce very little food from that land. Ranching is a tremendously profligate, wasteful way of using land because of its low food production. And it has an enormous ecological opportunity cost and carbon opportunity cost. And what that means is what you could be doing with that land if you were not using it for ranching. You could be bringing back the forests, bringing back the wetlands, bringing back the natural grasslands, bringing back the savannas, which have been destroyed on such an enormous scale by livestock farming. And in doing so, you draw down far more carbon than livestock pastures contain. All of those wild ecosystems are much richer in carbon. We've released so much greenhouse gas already. So we also have to draw down some of the carbon dioxide that's already in the atmosphere. And by far the best, cheapest, most benign, easiest way to do that is ecological restoration. The one thing that stops us from doing so is ranching, because about the only land which can be restored on the necessary scale is the land occupied by ranching. So it's basically a block to the survival of humanity, because unless we restore land on that scale, there's very little hope for ecosystems, there's very little hope for the climate. There's very little hope for Earth systems. Our survival depends on rewilding large parts of the planet's surface, and almost all of those areas which would be fit for rewilding, where there's very little food production but massive agricultural sprawl, are the areas currently used for extensive meat production.
When we think about doing things to slow climate change, we often focus on energy consumption. We talk about things like buying electric cars or turning off the lights and flying less. And those are all important and worthwhile strategies. But considering how powerfully our food choices impact our planet, maybe this is something we should all be talking about a whole lot more.
What we're recognizing is that, as we shift towards a more completely plant-based diet, we actually leave a softer carbon footprint on the planet. It's so interesting if you look at those charts that show the, sort of the emissions from different types of foods. The differences between growing plants and raising animals for food is really unbelievable. I can remember when my son was in university, I think he was in 4th year environmental sciences, and his teacher had everybody in the class calculate what, their carbon footprint was. And he lived about 20 minutes from the school, so he drove to school, and he had a lot of friends that would bike to school, and they were very conscious of their environmental choices. But he had by far the lowest carbon footprint in the class. And his colleagues or his peers were bummed. They said, what the heck? He drives a car to school. And the teacher said, read my lips. He doesn't eat meat, And I think that they just really got it. But it does make a huge difference. I think it's one of the most powerful things that anyone can do to reduce their, impact on the planet.
It's not just this feeding opportunity to get calories in to supply energy for our bodies every day. It's not just an opportunity to get macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, and fats, vitamins, and minerals into this body every single day. It's really the opportunity for life on that plate, life at every level. And I see the plate as this regenerative opportunity for us, that if 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion, 6 billion people begin changing what's on their plate, the regenerative capacity of that plate is far beyond what I think we can ever imagine. Individually, collectively, healthcare, communities, climate, light, biodiversity of life, the system can regenerate. I've seen so many times, as you have, Ocean, bodies regenerate in a very short period of time. Unknowingly perhaps abusing their body for decades with an unhealthy standard American diet. And in just a week of the right food, systems come back online, the body begins to regenerate itself. And my personal belief is that the earth will do the same thing. If we begin treating the earth in the same way that we would treat a body with plant-based nutrition, with a regenerative vision, I believe that system in and of itself would reboot much faster than we can imagine.
Our food choices are having an immense impact on our land, our ecosystems, our whole planet, and they are profoundly impacting the world's oceans as well. This is a matter of great importance to me, and not just because my parents named me Ocean. When you look at photos of the Earth from space, you realize that it's mostly water. And even if you don't live anywhere near an ocean, the health of the waters of our planet have a huge impact on the health of every single one of us. So what is the status of our oceans? And how do our food choices affect them?
So just as we are severely degrading the land and compromising our chances of survival in doing so, we're also severely degrading the oceans. The biggest impact is overfishing and the destruction of entire food chains within the oceans as a result of industrial fishing. Trawling destroys the communities of the seafloor and we get ecological collapse there. Drift netting and gill netting can just wipe out whole pelagic ecosystems in the midwater. These things are tremendously destructive ways of producing food, and we've tended to turn a blind eye to them. And now we also have massive amounts of agricultural runoff. We know that the huge amounts of nutrients, both the dung from intensively farmed livestock and the fertilizers washing off the land, as well as the nutrients in the soil, which is eroding off the land, those are wiping out our rivers. But of course, they don't stop in the rivers. They then pour into the oceans. And we've seen a large number of huge dead zones being created at sea. And dead zones are places where there's simply not enough oxygen for most life forms to survive. And the reason for that is the growth of microorganisms as a result of those nutrients, which suck the oxygen out of the water column and make this hostile to all other life forms there. And so you get now very large areas of sea where there's simply no fish, there's no crustaceans, there's no mollusks, there's almost nothing living there at all. And that's a result of agriculture on land.
Industrialized land agriculture is creating runoff that is acidifying our oceans and creating dead zones. And in the last few decades, human consumption of fish has been rising fast, such that humans are depleting stocks of wild fish in the ocean way faster than they can replenish themselves. Plus, we've been treating our oceans like garbage dumps, with the result that there is now more plastic in the ocean by weight than fish by weight.
I know. It's really sad. And now farmed fish has attempted to fill in the gap left by depleted stocks of wild fish, but most commercial fish farms have the same problems that we see with the factory farming of animals.
Yeah.
They keep the fish in close quarters, and the water becomes extremely polluted. And in addition, the fish need to eat, and as it happens, like with livestock, they don't do so very efficiently. So it can take 3 to 5 pounds of wild-caught fish to make enough fish meal for pellets that will produce 1 pound of farmed fish.
This sounds like another kind of protein factory in reverse, which is actually a phrase that was coined by Frankie LePay when she was talking about factory farmed meat. And while the farmed fish might be eating forms of wild-caught fish that are less desirable for human consumption, they're still hardly an answer to the problems facing our world's oceans.
Well, anytime you move up the food chain, you have a loss of efficiency. Calories are consumed, and then not nearly all of them turn into the flesh that we humans may desire. Many of the calories turn into energy the animal uses to move around, as well as into parts of their bodies that we can't eat, and of course also into fecal material. But by the same token, anytime you move down the food chain, you have greater efficiency. You use fewer natural resources, you get more food and less waste, and you pollute the planet less. And isn't it really wonderful that the same food choices that are best for our world are almost always the same ones that are best for our bodies and for our health?
Yes, it's true. We keep learning more about how powerful food can be. Every bite you take is, in a sense, a vote. You're voting for the health you want, and you're also voting for the world you want. Are you also voting for the way that you want humans to treat the other animals with whom we share this planet?
Actually, yes, you are. One of the most universal human attributes is an aversion to cruelty towards animals. In Hollywood, there's a name for the scene at the beginning of a movie that establishes that a character is sympathetic and someone that the audience will be rooting for. They call it a save the cat moment, which reflects for me how deeply the urge lives in human beings to be kind to animals.
Yes, and for the most part we are. So many people love their dogs and their cats as much as they love any human in their life. But we have been conditioned to not think the same way about the animals that we've turned into units of production, even though cows and pigs and chickens are all sentient beings who can love, fear, and suffer, just like the animal companions with whom we share our homes.
The point of learning about the ways in which billions and billions of creatures are living and dying in factory farms is so that we can make informed choices about what practices will be carried out on our behalf. Some of what we're about to share in the next few minutes can be painful to see. So keep breathing and remembering that we're here because we want to know the truth, so our lives can more fully be an expression of who we are and what we care about. We're looking because we care.
it's quite clear that our overconsumption of animal products is slowly but surely leading us down a path that is really destructive, and not just for our health and well-being, not just for humans, but also all of life.
Factory farming, packing very large numbers of farm animals into huge barns, factories in effect. Thousands of hogs, tens of thousands of chickens, hundreds or even thousands of cattle, really crammed in, often in horrendous conditions for the welfare of the animals, very stressful, major sensory deprivation, major health issues, a lot of fear.
Concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs as we call them, are factory farms. And CAFOs are essentially where these animals live before they are brought to slaughter. So if you have seen photos of cows or chickens or pigs kept in extremely confined conditions, that is a CAFO. And the farmers who are raising those are under contract with factory farms or huge big ag meat industry giants. And these farmers, I want to underscore, are by and large exploited themselves. When they enter into these contracts with the large meat industry giants, they are absorbing just about all of the risk and liability and very little of the reward. That's the way that it's structured. The meat industry gets the profits and at the exploitation of these farmers. Farmers who have been able to stay small scale and who have been able to stay small family farms are really having a harder and harder time competing, because the consolidation in the meat industry is incredibly significant. There are really only 4 or 5 large meat giants in the US who take over the entire market share. And it's very difficult for these small farmers to compete.
Chickens are very sensitive creatures. They love their chicks, as the saying goes, just like a mother hen. But we aren't treating them especially well. Where does our chicken come from?
Let's start with broiler chickens. Broiler chickens are bred, and they spend the majority of their lives in huge warehouses, essentially. They never see sunlight. They spend their entire lives indoors, and they are packed in at very, very alarming rates, what we call stocking density, meaning that they have very little room amongst each other. They're bred to grow so quickly that by the time it's time for them to go to slaughter, many of them can no longer walk. Their legs cannot bear their own weight. And after those few weeks of living in that factory farm, living in that warehouse, they are taken to slaughter.
And what about pigs?
Pigs, in my opinion, are some of the most incredible animals. Their intelligence has been estimated to that of small children, much higher than the dogs and cats that many of us share our homes with. They've been known to do things like identify patterns and move objects into those patterns. They're also very social creatures. They do not like being alone. They have separation anxiety when they are alone, and they have complex social hierarchies. And they're wonderful parents. They're wonderful mothers and fathers to their children. Modern pork production facilities use gestation crates here in the United States, by and large. A gestation crate is about 3 feet by 7 feet. And if you know how large a pig, specifically a female pig, is, that's about the size of their body. So a gestation crate makes it so that a mother pig or a pregnant pig, as it may be, cannot turn around and has to spend their entire life in this crate and cannot move. And the reason that the pork industry does this is truly for profit. It's to maximize their profit above all else, whether that's animal suffering, human health, etc. And the cycle for mother pigs is that they are forcibly impregnated to have piglets, and then they spend the entire gestation period, multiple months, in these crates. When they deliver the piglets, they cannot interact with them. The piglets are taken from them, their tails are taken off, and they are castrated if they're males. They're weaned very, very early, and then they're taken away from those mother pigs for the cycle to start all over again. So these are breeding pigs. They are creating the piglets that are used for meat, and this is, in my opinion, some of the most harrowing animal abuse that we have in our food system is the way that we treat mother pigs.
And cows?
So cows as animals are, again, very social. They love spending time together, and they also are usually quite friendly to humans if humans have been kind to them. Again, I've had the privilege of spending some time with cows recently, and I found that they love being rubbed on the bridge of their nose, just like a horse or a dog, which of course we as humans would never treat horses or dogs the way that we treat cows for food, but they can be playful. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of cows seeing grass for the first time when they've been living in factory farming conditions, but they kick up their heels and jump around just as you would expect a horse or a dog when they're playing. So again, very sentient beings, no question, and really lovely creatures that we share this planet with.
Sadly, cows in modern factory farms are often subjected to cruel and inhumane treatment. They are over-confined in small spaces, in super-crowded conditions, and they're often denied access to the outdoors. They might be forced to stand on concrete floors or metal grates, which can cause painful injuries and even hoof problems. Many cows are also subjected to painful procedures like dehorning and tail docking without adequate pain relief. In addition, they're often fed a diet that's not natural to their digestive systems, and dairy cows are often given routine doses of antibiotics as well as growth hormones to increase their milk production. The mistreatment of cows not only causes immense animal suffering, it also has serious implications for public health.
The use of antibiotics in factory farms is a major concern for public health. About 80% of all the antibiotics used in the United States for all purposes are not given to people suffering from bacterial infections. They're given to livestock to promote growth and to prevent diseases that can spread rapidly in the overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. There is no doubt at all that the overuse and the misuse of antibiotics in factory farming is leading to the development of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And when these bacteria are transmitted to humans, they can cause serious infections that are difficult to treat and may result in prolonged illness, in hospitalization, or even death. Even simply eating the residues of antibiotics in meat and dairy products can also contribute to the development of antibiotic resistance in humans.
Antibiotic-resistant infections also pose a significant economic burden on our society because they increase healthcare costs and they reduce productivity. And this is a serious problem. At least 700,000 people died last year worldwide due to antibiotic-resistant infections. This number is expected to rise to 10 million deaths per year within the next generation, unless we change our ways. And again, the primary way that antibiotics are being used and that antibiotic resistance is being cultivated is in our factory farms.
So it turns out that cruelty to animals in factory farms isn't just bad for the animals, it's also bad for the consumer. We pay the price with millions of deaths from antibiotic-resistant bacteria. We pay the price with environmental deterioration, with the enormous pollution that comes out of these factories, and also with the human health consequences that we suffer when we eat the products they produce. I think there's another piece of this that's also important to look at. Does something happen to us as human beings when we participate in large-scale animal cruelty? How does it affect us and our sense of our place in the world? Is there a reason humans should care about the treatment of animals?
Human beings should care about the treatment of animals because when we really think about it, we are animals too. So by treating everyone with kindness and doing no harm, we're truly helping everyone who's sharing this planet.
Quite honestly, I initially went vegan for health reasons, and then through that journey, I learned so much more about the food industry, about the horrors that animals go through in animal agriculture systems, and with that, I think it allowed me to deepen my own experience of love, of compassion, of intentionality, because it's really, again, we rise by lifting others. It's that sentiment, but extended to all life forms.
Compassion is essential for human health. We are societal creatures. We need each other, and we depend on each other. And none of those needs are going to be met, and the dependency is not going to be fostered if we don't have compassion for each other. Now, everybody's doing the best they can, and you have to have compassion for that. And so, no question, compassion is essential for human function and survival as a society. But when it comes to growing our food, no matter how you look at it, the lack of compassion, by definition, to run a feedlot operation or an intensive factory farm of chickens or pigs where you keep thousands of animals in a shed, by definition, no compassion there. The result of the lack of compassion is going to be reflected in the animal's flesh. You wind up eating their fear. And it demeans us. The slaughterhouse workers, the poor people who have to cut those animals' throat hour after hour, they don't do it for very long. A year or two of that, not only does it take its toll on them personally with the wrist and arm injuries, but it's so dehumanizing.
What about the notion that humans have dominion over animals? Some people believe that they are ours to do with as we please. But if we have dominion, does that mean we should be cruel to them? People from across the political spectrum tend to disagree about just about everything these days. But could we agree that we shouldn't use our power over animals to treat them with cruelty? Even if we intensely disagree with someone about many things, can we at least agree that the animals we have power over deserve our compassion and our respect?
I want to get to the root question, the moral question. Do we have dominion over the animals, or are they our peers? Are they the same as people?
We have power over other animals, and I think with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility.
I agree with that.
So we can kill them, but whether we should kill them is a bigger question.
Okay. I have to say, I started this segment thinking this guy's probably crazy, but I think you're actually reasonable and thoughtful. And I don't agree with everything you've said, but I appreciate your coming on tonight.
And I appreciate your concern about animals and your open-mindedness to these issues.
I love animals. We shouldn't mistreat them. I agree with that.
You don't have to be an animal rights activist or a card-carrying vegan to want animals to be treated with respect. Even omnivores, in fact, perhaps especially omnivores, can find the conditions of today's factory farm abhorrent and can say, no, we don't want to have any part in funding them or in consuming their products.
And I feel strangely soothed when I see people of different faith backgrounds or different political perspectives and different basic ideologies managing to find actual common ground here. Compassion is a powerful force, and to me it's one of the most beautiful things about us humans. It's our capacity to experience and to express our compassion. Ocean and I, and the speakers in this summit, want to contribute to a more compassionate world. Yeah. We want a healthy, ethical, and sustainable world that gives everyone a fair chance.
We really do, and we think that everyone deserves healthy food and the opportunity for a healthy life. But right now, not everyone is getting a fair shot. Statistically, in the United States, the darker your skin color, and also the less money you have, the more likely you are to depend for the majority of your calories on ultra-processed foods and factory-farmed animal products. And the more likely you are to suffer from preventable chronic illness. This creates pervasive health disparities.
Having access to wealth, living in a neighborhood where there is healthy food nearby are major factors in determining whether people are going to be eating their 5 servings or more of fruits and vegetables every day. And Black and brown folks predominantly live right now in formerly redlined communities, and there just are not healthy food outlets, nor is there the transportation or income to travel long distances to go and get that food. And so that's where we end up today, where 1 in 3 Black children is relying on, emergency food assistance, and where diabetes and heart disease and kidney failure are plaguing our communities.
I think we also need to begin to look more for what can we do to change these food deserts. I mean, there are some areas where people would like to have healthy foods, but they cannot find it. They don't have the transportation to go and drive to the places where they can find a health food store.
I long for the day that we have finally recognized access to healthy and fresh food as a human right.
Absolutely. Access to wholesome food shouldn't be based on race or income or zip code. But right now, disparities in access to healthy food are leading to disparities in health outcomes. And these are fueling cycles of intergenerational poverty that can be hard for people to overcome.
Our African American community is 12% of the US population and 35% of the dialysis patients. And we can't pay the taxes enough because of the structural racism. We don't get the good schools. We don't get the tax base to get people, into colleges at a high enough rate to make the kind of jobs so that we could pay enough taxes to pay for that dialysis. We could return this whole thing around, because if anyone would Google or go to a search engine and look, they would see that chronic kidney disease and even progression to dialysis can be stopped if you stop eating animal protein. So, I know that's not a popular concept, but it's, this whole last 3 years, the kidney disease literature is replete. And this isn't, IJDRP, vegan propaganda. This is, the National Kidney Foundation saying, please, please, please make all your kidney disease patients vegetarians.
Food habits tend to be passed on through the generations. So if your parents ate a lot of fast food, the odds are higher that you will too. But any one of us can break the chain and start a new pattern. And when we do, the benefits can touch many generations to follow.
When we talk about generational health, we talk about the health conditions, both the health habits and the health outcomes that tend to run in families. It's almost like a health baton that's being passed in a relay race from grandparent to parent to child, and then from that child to honestly, to that child's future self. So that child becomes adolescent and a child becomes an adult. So it's a transformational thing where they keep going from one generation to another.
No matter where we live, no matter the color of our skin or how much money we have or don't have, one thing is clear. We all need food to live, and we all need healthy food to thrive.
We're facing some vast problems in the world today. In this episode alone, we've mentioned climate chaos and environmental degradation and antibiotic resistance and poverty and racism, hunger and animal cruelty. Some of what we're up against can be so immense that it can feel overwhelming, even unconfrontable. It can be easy to feel not like a drop in the bucket, but more like a single drop in a vast, roaring and out of control sea.
It really can, and yet, while we acknowledge all the problems and how serious they are, we also know that humans are capable of transformative growth, and that when we come together with goodwill, we can achieve remarkable things.
We can. And one of the challenges we face is that some people think healthy food is just an elitist luxury. And it absolutely can be costly for the individual today, thanks to the absurd government subsidies that favor junk food over healthy food.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the long run, healthy food is far more affordable. The last time I checked, cancer was pretty expensive, and so was heart disease. And so was feeling miserable all day.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a global audience in this summit, but being here in the US, I want to point out that even though our country's spending on healthcare is lavish, we're not getting our money's worth.
Right now, the US spends 18% of our entire gross domestic product on healthcare, while the world's other 11 wealthiest nations spend an average of just under 11%. And this additional 7% of GDP translates to an excess of $1.5 trillion spent on healthcare every year in the US alone. That amount, $1.5 trillion, is nearly double the annual budget of the US Department of Defense. And yet with all of this spending, citizens of Japan live 8 years longer in good health, and Canadians live nearly 6 years longer in good health than Americans do. And since the year 2000, Americans' healthy life expectancy has plummeted from 38th in the world, which was nothing to brag about, to 68th in the world now. In fact, there are only 2 countries in the world where human health has declined faster than in the US in the past 20 years. One of these is Venezuela, which has seen what a 52,000% inflation rate can do to a country. and the other is Syria, where a full-scale civil war and now a horrible earthquake have completely devastated the nation.
This is so intense. Sometimes the comparatively poor health status of people in the U.S. is assumed to be a reflection of racial and economic disparities.
Yes, and these realities absolutely do play a part. The U.S. now has the least equal distribution of income and the highest poverty rates among the world's well-off nations. But even the privileged among us have not been spared. In the U.S. today, white adults who have health insurance and college degrees and high income levels are in worse health and have much higher infant mortality and much higher rates of chronic diseases and lower life expectancy than do well-off people in the other high-income countries.
The U.S. accounts for less than 5% of the world's population, but we take far more drugs than any other nation. We take medications to address the symptoms that we're suffering from, and then we take more drugs to deal with the side effects from the first ones, and then more meds to deal with the side effects from those. And meanwhile, as a country, we keep getting fatter and we keep getting sicker.
In many areas of life, you get what you pay for. If you were to go out to buy a car and you paid the price of a Tesla, you would expect to drive out of the lot with a better car than if you paid the price of a Yugo. But when it comes to healthcare, Americans are basically paying for the Tesla and driving the Yugo. The U.S. now spends trillions of dollars on what we call healthcare, but what really is just disease management.
Yeah, and the good news here is that that's a lot of money we could save if we made positive changes to our diet and our lifestyle. So let's look now at some of the food policy changes that could help us to heal our planet and restore our health and happiness to millions and millions of people, in fact. And let's also look at some of the things that are often touted as solutions and see what the science tells us about them. We'll start by looking at regenerative ranching. Some people say it could be a key to ending climate chaos. Others tell us that's just a bunch of bull. So what's the truth?
Regenerative is one of those terms like sustainable, which has come to mean almost anything. But we have this very powerful myth of regenerative ranching, which says we are sequestering carbon and we're actually solving the carbon crisis. So buy credits in this regenerative ranching and you'll be helping to solve the problem. Well, you might as well buy credits in a coal mine. This is one of the greatest causes of climate breakdown. Livestock, according to the most recent figures, release about 20% of the world's anthropogenic greenhouse gases. That's more than global transport. And they have also a huge cost of in terms of the conversion of ecosystems into ranches. And that cost remains until they're converted back into wild ecosystems. It's a huge carbon opportunity cost. So when people say this is regenerative ranching or this is sequestering carbon, this is a form of climate denial. It's very similar to the denial which has been promulgated by the fossil fuel industry.
Although there are some practices like rotational grazing that can sequester carbon in the soil, in the long run, they aren't helpful enough to make up for the huge environmental costs that cattle ranching generates. And there are other ways the land could be used that would be far more effective for sequestering carbon and helping to save endangered species.
Yes, and there are forms of agriculture that can not only minimize problems, but actually be part of the solution. Many farmers are nurturing their soil and incorporating practices that make the soil more rich and more abundant from one year to the next.
Yes, and these same practices help the soil to hold water. This increases resilience in the face of droughts and floods. And it also helps to sequester carbon in the ground. These regenerative agricultural practices are really a vivid contrast to the industrialized factory farms and the vast monocultures that depend on obscene amounts of chemicals and pesticides and fertilizers while also emitting huge amounts of greenhouse gases. Okay, so this all sounds great, but let's get real here. Is it realistic? Can we feed 8 billion people this way?
So my perspective is that it's not only realistic to feed 8 billion people using regenerative localized agriculture, but it's really the only option that we have. I'll break this down. So first of all, industrial agriculture is on no count sustainable. There is absolutely no way we can continue to ravage ecosystems, eutrophy waterways, consume the amount of fresh water, convert the amount of land area that industrial ag demands. We're just simply out of resources and out of time. And so we have to have an alternative. At the same time, when you look at regenerative agriculture, there's some very encouraging and profound statistics. For one, numerous studies have shown that when you use polyculture instead of monoculture, that means planting many different species and crops side by side, you're getting yields that are higher than with monocropping, sometimes as much as 40% higher. So, if you plant corn and beans and squash together, you're getting more calories per acre than if you just do corn on 1 acre and squash on a separate acre. Another very important trend that we're seeing is that the gap in productivity between conventional and agriculture is shrinking over time as organic agriculture hones its methods. And importantly, when you start to measure yields on a multi-year time scale versus just one season, organic really starts to catch up because these types of regenerative practices are very good at helping ecosystems be resilient in the face of change.
Of course, you have polyculture, where you have, that was our general principle, right? The more diversity, the better. The more, the merrier. So if you just look at our corn, for example, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of varieties of corn. And even those varieties are ever evolving because we are continuously cross-pollinating.
Agro-ecology refers to a sustainable farming system that combines traditional farming practices, modern science, and ecological principles. One expression of agroecology is called permaculture, or permanent agriculture. That is, a way of growing food that's sustainable, that doesn't deplete the soil or poison the air or poison the water. Agroecology shows a lot of potential, but it's also going to take a lot of study and learning if it's going to be productive on the vast scales that are needed in order to truly feed all of humanity.
By all means, we should be moving towards agroecology. This is absolutely essential because that means cutting out the fertilizers, cutting out the pesticides, closing the nutrient loops, if indeed that is possible. But at the same time, we should be ensuring we move towards a high-yield agroecology. And that requires a lot more research. There's been so little research in this. Governments haven't been putting the money in. They've been following the corporate money. What the corporations want, they say, yeah, we'll give you more of that, so that you don't have to carry your research costs. We'll do the research on your behalf. But actually, it's the gaps which aren't being filled by corporate money.
We need to learn how to grow food in ways that are more harmonious with the whole web of life. And if we eat less meat, everything gets easier. We free up vast areas of land and water. We have more space to grow food for the long term, with carbon sequestration and soil health and water conservation top of mind. Instead of pushing our water and our land supplies as hard as possible, pouring on the fertilizers and the pesticides so that we can maximize yield, and then feed most of our calories to livestock, we can instead focus more on sustainably feeding humanity for generations to come.
We can. So, like it or not, it looks like we're going to have to cut down on our meat consumption.
Yeah.
And right now, one of the factors that makes this more difficult is the fact that most of our factory farmed animal products are essentially subsidized. They're artificially cheap, which hides the fact that industrialized animal agriculture is actually extremely costly to individuals whose health is being harmed, to the environment, and to the economy. Climate change is potentially the most expensive thing ever to happen to us, and yet our laws and regulations encourage the very behaviors that are making it continue to get worse.
Yes, humans are eating more meat, particularly in the United States, than they ever have before. And century over century and decade over decade, those numbers are increasing. And one of the reasons that this is happening is because it's become very cheap to make meat. Particularly in the United States, the meat industry has managed to do two things to really drive down the cost of meat. First, they rely on government subsidies. There is a long history and a very recent history of the government bailing out the animal agriculture, industrial animal agriculture, you'll hear me call it factory farming industry. When they overproduce, the government buys the products, for example. And also externalities, which really means that the liability and the risk of creating these cheap meat and animal food products is not borne by the industry. It's borne by animals and their suffering, yes, but also the environment, the workers, human health, and those that live near these factory farms. So as a result, meat is cheap. It's an affordable food, and the government is willing to prop up its price, and as a result, consumption continues to be on the rise.
Even though we're living in very politically polarized times, these are issues that affect every single one of us. Cancer doesn't care all that much who you voted for, but it does care what you eat. Everybody, regardless of ideology, regardless of political perspective, wants to be healthy, which gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, people of diverse political contexts might be able to join together to create some real solutions, including at the level of policy.
We all live on planet Earth. You know, what affects our planet affects all of us. These are human issues that should transcend ideology. This is something that really should be bringing everyone together. I mean, that was one of the things that was so gratifying when Medicare agreed to cover my reversing heart disease program. We had Bill Clinton when he was president, but also Newt Gingrich when he was Speaker of the House. We had Charlie Rangel, one of the most liberal Democrats, and Dan Burton, one of the most radical right Republicans. They all came together around this. Because these are profoundly human issues that transcend ideology. And I do hope that we can find some common ground as we move forward.
I do want to just let folks know that, there's an old saying in Washington, change doesn't come from Washington, it comes to Washington. And it really is the activism and engagement of people that bring about the change. And often it happens from tragedy. The thing that you and I both know is that there's silent horrors going on that literally these companies try to hide from public view or pass things like ag-gag laws to prevent our knowledge. And we have to be activists to expose what most Americans in our common conscience would find unacceptable. Silence is complicity. Find ways to demand the change. Find out where your legislator, House member, or senators stand on this issue, because we really need your activism now more than ever, and your social media platforms. Please educate people. This is one of those points that if you said, hey, I don't have that many areas because I'm busy working my job, raising my kids. Well, this is one of those, Archimedes said, give me the right lever, I could change the world. This is one of those real leverage points to look at our food systems in America and to take steps to correct this injustice.
One policy change that would have a massive and immediate positive impact would be to redirect farm subsidies away from foods and methods that harm human health and the environment, and then redirect those resources towards regenerative systems.
Farmers' margins are very tight, and while there are some brilliant, innovative farmers out there, we can't just ask them to sort this out for us, without any help. We need to be pouring the research money in. There's so much government money sloshing around in farming. Governments spend $500 billion a year on farm subsidies, and nearly all that money is perversely spent. It goes to the richest farmers. It encourages land consolidation. It's almost always environmentally destructive.
I tell you, there is a powerful lobby, and from big oil to pharma, these are formal lobbies, but big ag, I am telling you right now, has such a hold. Think about this for a second, that about 90% of our ag subsidies, the things that you and I as taxpayers pay into, go to 4 monocrops. A significant amount of that is to go feeding livestock, the billions of animals that we slaughter every year. And then the rest of it often goes to things that make us sicker, corn syrup. It's why that my kids here in Newark at the local bodega can buy a Twinkie product cheaper than an apple, because we have created food subsidies that further subsidize animal agriculture, as well as, unfortunately, the things that often give us diabetes and heart disease and more. We have such a savagely broken food system, but these powerful interests protected, and it's not for the small independent family farmer. This is for these big multinational corporations who get billions of dollars because of our subsidies and fiercely protect these broken systems that make us sicker, that are often hurting animals, that are driving climate change with tearing down rainforest and more.
The subsidies that are being given to the factory farming and industrial animal agriculture industry are significant. Just take, for example, the school lunch program. The fact that the government is subsidizing milk, dairy milk from cows for American children in their school lunches is already the government being involved in how we feed our children. And if we want to make a change, we are not seeking that the government be a nanny state or that the government overreach. We're simply seeking that the government level set and make it so that there is fair play, that consumers have an accurate understanding of what it is that they're being fed in all aspects of the word. And so that consumers can have an educated choice, and that there's not this propping up of these products to make them so cheap that they are impossible to avoid. And as a result, when we work on legislation that's trying to shift some of this government power or government subsidies, if you will, towards more plant-based options, really what we're doing is trying to get a level playing field and trying to have market fairness and competitiveness so that we can have things on the market that are healthy and plant-based and delicious and affordable and accessible.
Twinkies contains 14 subsidized ingredients. Organic broccoli has none. I think a lot of us could agree that subsidizing junk foods doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If we're going to subsidize any kind of food, shouldn't it be healthy food?
So true. And what about giving consumers more accurate information about the impacts of the foods they consume? We know that graphically describing the health consequences of smoking on cigarette labels has made a huge difference, and it's helped to save millions of people who otherwise might have died from lung cancer. When people really understand the risks of their current behavior, they're more likely to consider changing. I've even wondered if we should consider adding warning labels to processed and red meat and to processed junk food, so that consumers can make more informed choices for themselves and for their loved ones.
So we really have data. Processed meat is a World Health Organization class 1 carcinogen, meaning that it causes cancer. There's not a lot of question about that. But people are eating it anyway. It's being marketed anyway. It's being sold anyway. And so why not put a red label on it? And like I was saying, if you're going to do this, do it, every now and then. Don't make it a staple that you're eating this stuff every day. Same thing with eggs. Anything that has data that this particular item increases mortality, there should be a label on it. I mean, we label cigarettes. We don't advertise cigarettes on television, for example. Why wouldn't we do this in our stores? Well, obviously there's a lot of industry pushback because the people who make cigarettes pushed back. There are people who are, making, pork bacon who would push back. But the data is the data. And so we would, just like we made a change with advertising of cigarettes, we should do the same thing with the marketing and advertising and sale of food items that are known, such as, things that are high in sodium, processed meat, red meat, eggs, making sure that people understand that refined grains are not regular grains, and that when you're eating white bread, it's wheat, but it's turning wheat into something without the husk and the fiber. That's going to be damaging to your system. And so if people knew that, it's a form of education. Now, has it been done? It actually has. I've seen, there may be more data that I haven't seen, but I've seen data from France, Austria, and Australia. And when they did this in the stores, it really changed buying habits.
Now let's talk a little bit about changes in the medical system and in the practice of medicine overall. We've heard so many stories from Food Revolution Network members over the years about how they were searching for a cure or relief from a chronic disease, and they discovered whole food plant-based eating on our website or through one of our summits. But then in some cases, their doctor poo-pooed it. He told them that a plant-based diet was dangerous in some way, or that they really couldn't affect their health outcome through diet and lifestyle.
And people, of course, listen to their physicians, even if those physicians know almost nothing about nutrition. Most doctors got into the profession originally because they wanted to help people. And many of them just don't know how powerful food and lifestyle can be. Fortunately, this is at last beginning to change, and many of the speakers in this summit are leading the way.
The physician community at large doesn't know. They don't know. So we're back to the 1940s and 50s where we now laugh and say, like, really? It didn't occur to you that smoking a pack of cigarettes a day was going to lead to lung cancer? Well, no. Guess what? Because I'm a male white physician and in my coat pocket is a pack of Camels. I don't know. Because guess what? Today, in the 2020s, I had a chicken salad for lunch. I'm going to have pizza for dinner. I don't know to tell you any differently. So really, we need to start with policy change. We, as a plant-based community, need to start demanding change. And then when stuff hits the pocketbooks, we'll start seeing soda machines being filled with soy milk.
The average doctor doesn't know about lifestyle medicine. More and more doctors, thankfully, are learning about lifestyle medicine. But even the ones that know about lifestyle medicine, they don't know how to practice it. They don't know where they can go and practice lifestyle medicine and make a living doing that. And then the average patient also doesn't know about lifestyle medicine. They don't know that they have a choice between taking a drug or adjusting their lifestyle. So I want to see the lifestyle medicine choice available to every patient and to every healthcare provider. Not everybody has to choose it, but I want to see it available to them.
My real passion is to help people live their best life with vibrancy and vitality. My entry into lifestyle medicine really started with a patient sitting on my exam table telling me something that I've heard them say for so many times, which is, Dr. Stoll, can't you help me? I'm falling apart. And I assumed that falling apart was this experience of disease and pain and disruption in physiologic function. But what I really learned that day as my patient shared with me her experience of this falling apart life was that her marriage was falling apart. She wasn't able to travel to see her grandchildren. They were facing financial bankruptcy. She couldn't be involved in social activities like church. She was depressed and didn't have friends. And so I really saw that, my interest in the biochemistry and molecular biology of changing someone's life and reversing their disease was just the smallest part of actually really adding life to their years and enabling them to live their best life and have these vibrant relationships that are unhindered by the diseases they're experiencing. I've recognized that the earlier we can intervene in healthcare education, the better. So I really believe that in order for us to transform healthcare, there are a few things that have to happen. One is early education of healthcare providers, and that is everybody from a speech therapist to physical therapist to chiropractors to dentists to nurses to doctors and everybody in between, health coaches, about the true power and the science of nutrition and the tremendous opportunity that we have every day to empower people with this opportunity.
The challenges before us are great, but so is our ability to meet these challenges. And it seems that in many ways, perhaps, the tide is beginning at least to turn.
I've been doing this for, more than almost 20 years now. And in the last 5 years, I can say, honestly, I have more hope than I've ever had in my entire life. Hope is a very positive and powerful emotion. And the research shows us when someone has hope, it actually begins turning on the areas of our brain that are involved in strategic planning, long-term goal setting, and problem solving. And I have more hope than I've ever had in my entire life because I see more healthcare providers interested, willing to embrace the idea of involving lifestyle medicine in their practice. I have a lot of hope because this next generation of students are incredibly aware and open to the message of plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine. And perhaps my greatest hope is in that generation. And I've often said the generation that is in education today and residency will be the generation that ushers in lifestyle medicine and plant-based nutrition into healthcare and into our world. They are passionate, they are inspired, they are altruistic, They are hardworking, and that generation gives me great hope. But even my own colleagues, at conferences where I attend that are not plant-based, they're open to discussions that they weren't open to before. As I go into grocery stores and around and I hear advertisements, I hear the word plant-based more than I've ever heard it before. And even my own family members that have not been plant-based are much more lovingly embracing and willing to change and adapt. So I look at the future with great hope. We've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but the changes that I have seen in the last 5 years are incredible. And I believe that the momentum has just started and we're nearing an inflection point where the plant-based message will become infused in a very positive way through all of the global systems. But the last thing I would say is I have great hope because of the incredible people that I have met along this journey over the last 20 years. Truly inspired individuals who have sacrificed so much to get us to where we are today, and are willing to continue to sacrifice for the good of humanity, for the good of our globe, for the benefit of animals, and really the benefit of the next generation.
When you started eating plant-based, you've commented that it wasn't considered cool. Do you see the pendulum shifting? And if so, why?
This is back in 2002 when I first made the transition to eating a plant-based diet. I did not know very many humans that ate a plant-based diet. There were only a handful of people, and I learned as much as I possibly could from them. And the general public wasn't talking about eating a plant-based diet, and you're absolutely right. It wasn't considered cool at that time. It is now, the paradigm is shifting. People are starting to recognize that eating a plant-based diet has untold capabilities, and that eating a plant-based diet is the single most powerful medicine that can lower your risk for both chronic diseases, but also lower your risk for many infectious diseases, which is something that the pandemic has become more, has led more research into.
What we're doing is important in community, that we're validated, and that credibility is given to the lifestyle change, that we find, resources that we may not have had, that we find a hug when we need a hug. And so I have come to believe, as I've done this for so many years, that the secret sauce of lifestyle change is a powerful, loving community. There is nothing more important for someone that is making a lifestyle change than to be connected into a community where they will find love and support.
I absolutely believe that younger generations are more open to plant-based eating for sure. Eating more plants is so common now, and even things like, oat milk being the dominant, milk choice for not only young people, but just generally speaking, it's something that is so normalized and now relatively integrated into our food culture and society. And so that's really nice to see, like all of those subtle shifts.
People have become more conscious of eating properly and become more conscious of what they should put in their body. Where people are becoming more conscious of what they're eating and what they don't need to put in their body temple. People are becoming more mindful and more conscious. Some of it has happened through crisis, and some of it has happened through insight.
What a profound moment in history we are living. As we learn the power that we hold in our hands with every bite we take, each of us has an extraordinary opportunity to be a leader. Sometimes leadership is bold and bright. Sometimes it's calm and quiet and steady. But anytime you choose to make choices that are aligned with your own conscience and your own convictions, you are a leader, and you will be an inspiration to others.
You can't lead the people if you don't love the people. And what my heroes from Ella Baker, Gandhi, King, these were people that even those that hated them, they still never stopped seeing their humanity. John Lewis, who's one of my great living heroes, told me the story as we were driving to see Jimmy Carter in Plains, Georgia, and it was a long car ride. But he was telling me about one of the people that beat him on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, how he was nonviolent, never stopped extending love to someone who hated him. And years later, he came to his office, I think with his child or grandchild, and asked for John Lewis's forgiveness. And we need to give pathways for redemption to each other, extend grace to each other. I just hope we can all understand that we're all evolving. There's an urgency in addressing these issues, but even people that we might perceive as on the quote unquote wrong side of this, we need, as you said, to find that common ground, to begin to find solid ground to start to build upon and make progress upon. And I think that that's why the love we have for each other, the compassion to understand that this contract farmer who has this massive CAFO on their land, that they're trapped too in a broken system, and we need to imagine our way for everybody to have a pathway out to economic well-being, security for their families, and dignity. So this is why I just, again, I have a lot of love for you, my friend, because that you help us to understand the intersectionality of all of these issues, and that we're not that different, and that the plight of a white farmer in the Midwest is directly tied to the plight of a child in an inner city community, and that by attacking these unjust systems, we could heal this country and help to heal the divisions and heal the rifts, and we all will elevate as a result.
We've reached the conclusion of this summit, and hopefully you found something of value here. As we have seen, the problems that are caused by industrialized animal agriculture and our toxic food system are immense. But as bad as things are, that's actually how much better they can be with the change.
There are no guarantees, of course. We make the best choices to optimize our diet and lifestyle, not because it will guarantee us everlasting health or eternal life, but because it will increase our chances of having the best life possible. We're all going to die eventually, but the knowledge that our life is going to end one day can inspire us to make the most of our precious life while we have it. Then the overriding questions that guide our lives become, how fully can we live? And how can we make the best of the chances that we have so that we truly inhabit all of our days? You've probably heard of the Serenity Prayer, in which we ask for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change. And we ask for the courage to change the things that we can change. And we ask for the wisdom to know the difference. It turns out that your food choices are one of those places where you have immense power, far more than most of us ever realize, to change your destiny for the better.
We hope that we have ignited a spark here in you that will live in you for the rest of your life. I believe that one of the most powerful forces in the universe is curiosity. It's the hunger to learn and discover, and part of what makes humans unique among all life forms is our ability to self-reflect and to create feedback loops of discovery. So it is our sincere hope that you will apply what you are learning here and never stop learning more.
We have presented the best and the most up-to-date nutritional science that we know of in this series. But we do so to spark your curiosity, not to end it. What we hope we're doing more than anything is inspiring you to get curious, to see how you can make food the foundation of your health, and how you can make food choices that are an expression of your values and your life commitments.
What we know is that food matters, that what you eat could literally make the difference between whether you wind up in a nursing home waiting for death or climbing mountains, whether you wind up old and sick on the couch, dependent on a bunch of medications, just hoping to make it through another day, or whether you're playing with your grandkids and sharing your gifts with the world.
Our hope is that what you've learned here inspires you not only to make wise choices and to enjoy better health, but also to share what you're learning with those you love and care about. There's an old saying that the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why you were born. And ultimately, from our perspective, health is a means to a greater end. It's to help you live your brilliance and to make your contributions on this planet. So that's why we're here right now.
It is. It's not just about food, and it's not just about longevity. It's about the very purpose of your life. I hope that in some way, we may have contributed to that in this series. If you've been touched, if you've been inspired by what the experts have shared in this summit, I hope that will live on in your heart and be a source of inspiration and support as you go forward.
I do too. And now I would like to close with a prayer.
Yes, please do.
It's a prayer that I've used to close every Food Revolution Summit we've held so far. It's a simple prayer that lives very deeply in my heart, and it guides my life. May all be fed. May all be healed. May all be loved.
May all be fed. May all be healed. May all be loved. This is Ocean Robbins.
And John Robbins.
And the entire team of Food Revolution Network, thanking you so much for joining us in this, our 12th anniversary Food Revolution Summit and our first ever docuseries. We are grateful for all the ways that you participate in and stand for healthy food, healthy people, and a healthy planet. It's a privilege for us to work together with you to help build a brighter future for all. Again, may all be fed, may all be healed, may all be loved.
It's time for a food revolution.
It's time for a food revolution.
It's time.
It's time.
It is time for a food revolution.
No matter where you come from or what you've been through, the simple truth is you are meant to thrive. You deserve boundless energy, a clear mind, and a lean and healthy body. You deserve to feel confident and clear about what you eat and why. The Food Revolution Summit is packed with insights, and trying to catch and absorb all of them can be hard. That's why we created the Empowerment Package. With your Empowerment Package, you can own the entire summit, plus all the transcripts and loads of bonus materials for life. Absorb this life-changing material at a pace that's comfortable and easy for you. Join this movement. Support this mission. Buy your Empowerment Package today. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing in that incredibly powerful episode. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what other people are saying, you can continue to post and engage in the comments section on the broadcast page, and make sure you refresh the comments using the button provided there so you can see the most recent ones that have been submitted. And now, as we move into the last wrap-up and insight session of this summit, I'm going to share and respond to some of the incredibly moving comments and the questions that are being posted on the broadcast page. I'm going to give away 1 or 2 more empowerment packages, and I'm going to share another finale completion message to send you forward. Mary said, just a wonderful summit and prayer. Yes. Thank you, Mary. Vicky said, hard to watch some of this, but very important. It's these images that keep me resolved. Yeah, you know, it's so true. Sometimes I feel like when we look at the way that humans are treating animals and the natural world, it can be easy to feel despair and shame even. But I also think that we look because we care. We look because we want to know. And the fact that that some part of our head says, no, this is not okay, is a testament to our humanity, to our caring, to our compassion, to the basic DNA of compassion that lives, I think, in just about every single one of us. So thank you, Vicky, for watching, sharing, and being involved in this movement with us. Annabelle said, good morning, Ocean. I don't want this summit to end. I missed episodes 2, 3, and 4. Is there any way to see the replay? What I learned these past few days, I've been sharing with my neighbor. I hope I can reverse our sickness and give us a new life. Well, Annabelle, thank you so much for asking and being here. Sorry you missed some of the episodes. You can, of course, share today's far and wide. Yes, it's the reality that the main way to own this all for life and to share it any way, anytime, any place you want is with the empowerment package. And we're so grateful to all the people who are stepping up and investing in their health and supporting our work with that purchase. We're thrilled to be able to share the summit for free all over the world. And we also are really grateful for all the folks who are contributing and helping us do that with the empowerment package purchases. Vanessa said, I'm a doctor. Where can I go to learn about lifestyle medicine? Well, Vanessa, that is fantastic. I'm thrilled that you're asking that question. The number one resource is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. You can find them online easily, ACLM. They have created certification programs in lifestyle medicine for doctors and healthcare professionals of all sorts. They work with the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. We've been working with them to get nutrition taught in medical schools, which is one of our campaigns. We're very excited about that initiative. I could go on for a whole story about that, but I could say that we raised several $100,000 to get a question bank created that the National Board of Medical Examiners will now have the option to include in the exams given for medical school graduates when they are attempting to get licensed. This is a big deal because the schools are teaching to the test, and up until now, out of 10,000 questions in the bank of the test question bank, there have been none pretty much focused on lifestyle medicine, but now that is changing. And as well, for folks who really want to specialize in lifestyle medicine, ACLM is your number one resource. Also, a big shout out to the Plantrition Project, which is also working similarly to get lifestyle medicine practiced and taught and shared and used with all forms of healthcare professionals. If you go to the Plantrition Project website, again, you can Google them, you will find resources, directories for plant-based and lifestyle medicine-centered healthcare professionals and coaches all over the world, and you can maybe find one in your area or in your area of interest as well. Ethel said, thank you very much for making the docuseries available to us for free. I'm learning a lot from the episodes. My parents died from cancer. 2 of my sisters are diabetic, and my daughter's pre-diabetic. My daughter is pre-diabetic. I have hypertension myself. We've not been very careful with the food we eat, and the docuseries has provided me the much-needed information to live a healthy life. Indeed, there is hope for me and my family. I've been taking notes so I can share these with my family and friends. Fruits and vegetables are not very affordable here in the Philippines, but we do have ways to make sure we eat properly and nutritiously. I am growing vegetables in our small garden at home, and this has provided some of the highly nutritious food that is too expensive to buy in the market. I'm excited to watch this last episode because I'm an environmental advocate and I practice composting, organic gardening in my own little way. All the best to the Food Revolution Network and its campaigns. Ethel, thank you for joining us from the Philippines. Thank you for growing food. I think growing healthy, nutritious food is one of the most revolutionary acts anybody can take. It's powerful. It's an act of compassion for yourself because you're exposing yourself to the healthiest, the freshest foods possible. You're also contributing to the spread of the revolution in the world at the most local level. They say think globally and act locally. You can't get a lot more local than the food on your plate. And when that food comes from your backyard, well, there you go. Gail said, I can't believe the week of this summit is over. I so enjoyed watching and learning so many new things. The recipes are awesome. Some I've already made and some I can't wait to make this weekend. Thank you, Ocean John and FRN people. I love this year's new layout. Thanks again for a special summit. Gail, thank you so much. And yay for the recipes. I'm thrilled that you're making them and planning to make more this weekend. That's awesome. Mallory said, okay, I've listened to all the episodes. I get it, but no real practical info on how to eat whole foods plant-based diet. Neither my wife or I are skilled cooks or dietitians. We're tired of nasty green smoothies and packaged mixed bag salads. There are more and more frozen veggie entrees, but most have chicken and or cheese as well. We've yet to find a home food meal service that's truly vegan and doesn't still require food prep skills. Can't afford a live-in cook, so what's your advice? Well, Mallory, thank you for sharing this frustration. A lot of folks share it, I think. And here's the number one thing I want to say is that healthy eating is a skill. and it takes practice, like any skill, like learning a language or learning a musical instrument. And when most of us have learned skills in the toxic food culture ways of eating, then we have to almost unlearn that and learn something new, which is hard work sometimes. But it gets easier. Like any skill, the more you do it and the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And one of the key things is recipes. The more times that you make a specific recipe, the faster you get at making it. You know exactly what ingredients you need to have on hand. Measuring it gets faster. Eventually, you don't even need to measure. You just eyeball it and dump the things in because you have a feel for it. You also finesse and tweak it to your liking. You find out, oh, I need a little less of this spice or seasoning, a little more of that. Oh, I'll try it differently for variety. You get skill and competence. Sauces can also help a lot. When you have a really good, yummy sauce, you can put it on your veggies. You can put it on your beans. You can put it on your quinoa. You can have it with salad. You can even put it on a rice cake. So a really yummy sauce can make a huge difference. Another principle is staples and cooking in quantity. So in our home, we cook legumes. We soak them for a day or two first and pouring off the water every 12 hours to get off oligosaccharides, which makes them more digestible. And then we cook them in a pressure cooker. And then we have a big glass container with legumes in the fridge. And we also usually have a grain going out all the time, whether it's quinoa or buckwheat or amaranth or millet or fonio, which is my new favorite super grain, or there's all kinds of different grains. You have it in the fridge, and then you got some vegetables, and we may even have vegetables already chopped, ready to cook, or already cooked, ready to add, and you can mix and match with different sauces, and it's kind of like instant, ready-to-go meals that just need to be warmed up. Super convenient. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of time in the kitchen, it helps to cook in quantity and make friends with the basics, the sauces, the core ingredients, have them ready, and then you can mix and match and go more easily. But remember, it takes time for taste buds to change. That's a skill too. Your taste buds will evolve. There's literally research showing that saliva changes, secreting new enzymes in response to new foods. So the first 5 or 10 times someone eats kale, it's probably going to taste bitter. Over time, saliva will change and it will actually start to taste sweeter. So habits get easier, they get more friendly, they get more familiar, and it's actually possible to love foods that love you back. But changing a lifetime of bad habits takes some work and some time and some patience. And what I want to say to you is it is worth it. You are worth it. When your life is on the line, you know it matters. So let's do this. And we do have a resource that could be useful to you and to a lot of folks listening, which is Food Revolution Network's membership community, Whole Life Club. We have about 10,000 people in this program right now, and Whole Life Club members are helping each other get healthier all the time. It's an ongoing wind at your back. Every week we deliver fresh new whole foods plant-based recipes. Every week we have action of the week videos from me or other team members. Every month we have a live or interactive interview with a guest expert, and it's either recorded live or just, in any case, the point is that it's fresh every month. And we invite members to submit questions in advance that we can ask the experts. So all of those resources plus recipes and our whole library of content from several years, you get access to over 1,200 recipes from our bank, and that's an amazing resource. So if you get an empowerment package, you get an opportunity for a free trial of Whole Life Club. Whether or not you get an empowerment package, we will have opportunities in the future in FRN for folks to join Whole Life Club. So when one of those opportunities comes up to be a part of a cohort or a group that's stepping into that, I would really encourage you to consider that. Because if you want to master and optimize healthy eating, if you want to sustain this, not just for a day or a week or a month, but for your whole life, then that's why we created this program. And the responses from our participants in Whole Life Club are mind-blowing. This is where we see the continuity. This is where we see the deep, profound, and lasting impact. We heard from Pam, who said there's a difference between industrialized ranching or farming of any animals and regenerative ranching. We need animals. Imagine the world without animals. They've always been here. Proposing 7 billion only go plant-based is a ridiculous push. Done correctly, plants, animals, and humans can all live and grow in harmony. Thank you, Pam. And yes, we do need animals. I love animals, and humans and animals and plants have all been coexisting in synchronicity and harmony in various ways for a very long time. Although today humans are not being so harmonious with the animals or the plants. I agree with you. There's a massive difference between factory farms and efforts towards what we call regenerative ranching. Although, as was mentioned in that episode, it's not all that it's cracked up to be in many cases. I do agree, though, that we need animals and that we all need to live in harmony, and that small amounts of animal agriculture could play a part in a balanced ecological system and in feeding humanity, especially in certain places in the world, but not on anything like the scale with which we are consuming animal products today. I don't think everyone on the planet needs to go 100% vegan tomorrow, but I do think that collectively we need to eat a lot less animal products, and that there is no way to produce the amount of animal products we are consuming for 8 billion humans without continuing to hurtle towards systemic environmental collapse. And if we wanted to have pasture-raised, grass-fed meat for all of humanity at the level we're consuming today, we would have to annihilate all of our forests tomorrow. If we want to restore our ecosystems, we've got to walk lighter on the earth and have a smaller ecological footprint. The only way to do that in our agricultural space is to eat lower on the food chain. There's just no way around it. It's incredibly inefficient to take biomass and cycle it through livestock. It's like a protein factory in reverse. So we've got to make those changes, but absolutely in harmony, in respect, in one step at a time, and recognizing that it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all solution. And I do believe there's a place for thoughtful, respectful animal agriculture on smaller scales in certain places. And it can be a part of a balanced system. But I think we've got to make radical changes, and we've got to change what we eat, not just how it's produced. Gail said, "Ocean, this episode had tears falling. I would love to know how to help my waters and land. I would love to turn my backyard into a mini veggie garden. Seeing how the animals are treated makes me want to buy a huge amounts of land and make it a sanctuary for animals. Those poor chicks really got my heart, and the other animals too. Thank you for showing this episode. It's a shocker, but it needs to be shown." Thank you, Gail. I agree. Monica said, "I've known about how animals are treated for a decade now. I eat mostly plant-based, 99%. But wow, what a great reminder this episode has been. I can't stop crying thinking about these beautiful animals and the horrors they have to endure because of us and human greed. It is horrifying. My heart is breaking for the billions of animals that suffer every day. Thank you for this reminder. Thank you, John and Ocean, for bringing awareness to the world." Monica, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being a part of this with us. And for everybody who's been touched by what you've seen today, I just want to say thank you for your humanity. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for caring. And I hope that together we can turn some of this caring and mobilize it into action, not just in our own personal lives, although that's absolutely where it starts, but also to begin to identify as revolutionaries. I hope that a seed is being planted in you. I hope that a spark is being lit in you for a place inside you that says, I want to be a part of the solution on this planet. I want to contribute to a healthier world. Now that I know, I want to help others know. Now that I know, I want to share and participate and spread this, because this knowledge that we are sharing in this summit could be critical to the survival of so many people we love, could be critical to the survival of our very species itself. Elizabeth said, "There needs to be a way to help the farmers earn a living by turning away from animal farms." Yes, Elizabeth, there really does. And I want to take a moment right now to honor all the farmers and the farm workers, even the ones who are using pesticides or who are engaged in cruel treatment of animals, because they're on the front lines of meeting demand from consumers and food industries. A lot of them are working really, really hard with very little economic security. And they tend to have a whole host of health problems that come with their exposure to toxins and pathogens in the workplace. And they're doing all this at one level to feed us. So absolutely, I think it's profoundly important that we honor our farmers and our farm workers, and that we support them in transitioning to healthier production methods and systems. This is one of the wonderful things about moving towards a more organic food production system, by the way, is that we reduce the pesticide burden that farmers and farm workers are exposed to in the fields, which makes a profound difference for them, as well as for the environment in which they live and our most rural communities. But it also, of course, impacts our health as well when we stop putting pesticides on the foods we eat, then we don't take it into our bodies too. So there's a lot of win-wins here, but helping folks transition is absolutely huge and profoundly important. I do not want to leave anybody out in the cold. The good news is that there's healthy profits to be made in healthy food. And so the same economic principles that have gotten us tilted towards toxic food and environmental destruction and cruelty to animals and creating food that's killing us can also be turned around as we start to create demand for healthier ways of growing and producing food by consuming it. So this is powerful stuff, and as you're seeing, the ripples are immense. Julie said, I love this new format and watched many of the docuseries over the years. Thank you and all who participated for generously sharing your knowledge. My question is, with everybody being different, is one diet right for all? For 14 years, every one of my doctors, whether natural or not, have pushed the paleo diet. I have one doctor who was vegan for many years and is now paleo and says he's never felt better in his life. And for me, I have multiple autoimmune disorders, one being hypothyroid, and have had a partial thyroidectomy. I'm told even on thyroid websites that paleo is the only way to go, no carbs and no cruciferous vegetables. This doesn't feel right for me. Can you share any insights? Thank you for making this world a better place for people and animals. Much love, Jules from Florida. Well, Jules, thank you for asking. As we've said multiple times in this series, there is no one diet that's perfect for everybody. You're the only you on the planet. So anytime these folks are all saying everybody should be paleo, we've got to say, really? Let's look at this a little deeper. But absolutely, just because a bunch of studies say something's good for most people most of the time doesn't mean it's good for all people all the time. And it doesn't mean it's good for you right now. So learning, listening to your body and getting curious is profoundly important. My personal take is that paleo, like plant-based, can mean a whole lot of different things. You can actually be paleo and vegan. You could be paleo and super not vegan. There's a whole range of different things. But at its core, what paleo means, I mean, it's not really eating what our Paleolithic ancestors ate, to be clear, because our Paleolithic ancestors were all over the world collectively, and they ate all different things. They ate what they could eat to survive in their ecosystem at that time of year, given what was available. So yes, some folks were plant-based. Other folks were not so plant-based, depending on what they had to work with, because their first priority was survival. It was getting enough calories to fill their bellies. And our Paleolithic ancestors, by the way, did not live particularly long. So they may not have had much heart disease or cancer or diabetes. They certainly didn't have much excess weight because they had to burn so many calories just to survive, and because none of them had a ton of calories to consume. So they didn't have a lot of weight problems, but they had other problems that continuously took their lives, from hygiene issues and bacterial contamination. Many of them died in their 20s and 30s. So we can't really look to them as masters of longevity, but there is something to be learned from our ancestors about food and health, and a lot of them ate way more fiber than we do today, and a lot of them ate no sugar and processed junk, actually. All of them ate no sugar and processed junk. So at its core, the paleo diet means getting rid of all the sugar and the processed junks and the white flours and so forth, and all of that is super healthy for just about everybody. But as far as the notion that you shouldn't eat grains or legumes, which are often cornerstones of a paleo diet, I don't see a lot of evidence to back that up in the medical literature. When you look at studies and you look at health outcomes, you see that consistently people that eat whole grains, I'm not talking about Wonder Bread here, people who eat whole grains, people who eat legumes, beans and split peas and lentils, tend to live longer and healthier lives, and to do better in virtually every measure we have available to us. So, as to whether somebody with thyroiditis should be avoiding, thyroid problems should be avoiding, cruciferous vegetables, there's controversy on that topic. We've written articles on this. If you go to foodrevolution.org and search for thyroid, you can find out more about what we've written on this. But the bottom line is there is some variance for humans. But the big picture is that I don't think there's a lot of case to be made for avoiding whole grains or legumes. There is a lot of case to be made for the paleo approach to avoiding added sugars and refined foods of all sorts. So I think that's the thing that it most gets right. And there's a lot in common between a whole foods plant-based approach and a healthy, thoughtful paleo approach. They actually agree on a lot of big things, but there are some variances. I personally don't think that most of us need lots of animal products to be healthy, and paleo diets can tend in that direction, but there also, again, are plant-based versions. So hopefully that gives you some context and guidance. Obviously, more to learn. You may want to find a new lifestyle medicine practitioner who is friendly to plant-based eating to help walk you through the journey. Plantrition Project, if you Google them, you can find out more. They have a directory on their site. That could be a useful resource for you. Regina said, the problem with this is those of us who care and make changes are vastly outnumbered by those who don't, and those who only see profit through suffering and stripping of the planet. Regina, I know it can feel that way, and sometimes it can feel really overwhelming when we look at the masses of humanity that seem to be intent on tilting our species towards systemic environmental collapse through their daily choices, and we see all the powers that be, all the politicians, all the corporations that seem to just be in lockstep towards a cliff, right? But I also want to say that I actually think most humans do want to see a healthier and a more livable future. I've met with senior executives at major food brands from Nestle to Coca-Cola. A lot of these folks don't stay up all night trying to figure out how to make our kids and our planet sick. They're trying to make money. And unfortunately, right now in the current economic context, there's often more money to be made from polluting and from selling junk food than there is in health. But I do believe we can make changes, and I actually find tremendous solace in the reality that people of all perspectives, all faith backgrounds, we all need food to live. And cancer doesn't care who you voted for, it cares what you eat and how you live. And at the end of the day, with all of our differences, with all the things that could divide us, with all the things that could make some people turn so cynical that it looks like they don't even have a heart beating in their chest, I believe that deep down, pretty much everybody wants their kids to be able to play in a safe environment, in a safe world. Pretty much everybody wants clean and safe air for themselves and for the people around them. Pretty much everybody wants a healthy world for everybody else too, if we can get there. So now the question is how? And in this summit, we're learning how powerful we can be to make a difference. I thank you for being here. I thank you for caring. And I want to invite you to join in feeling the power of the human heart, to love again, to choose again, to learn and grow. I believe that we're responsible for what we do with what we know. A lot of people just don't know. But now that you know more, it's time to keep learning. It's time to keep putting what you learn into action and realizing that although each of us is just one person and we can't do everything, we should not refuse to do that which we can. I'm paraphrasing Helen Keller here. Vivian said, hello from Nova Scotia. Thank you for keeping the episodes available to view later for those who work during the day. Ocean, you were right about the episode on inflammation. It was so informative along with the episode on obesity. With so much information being provided, the Summit Program Workbook is perfect for note-taking. I like the message that we can start with what is manageable. Making small changes to what we eat now can result in a huge health benefit in the future. The episodes had so much new information that I will be incorporating into my life. I've got my tea and my comfy chair ready for the next episode. I love how things come along when we are ready to receive them. I so appreciate you and the Food Revolution family for taking the time to put this incredible event together. Much love and gratitude. Thank you, Vivian. Elise said, a few years ago, completely gave up meat and dairy. For some reason over the last year, I let more of it back into my life. I guess it was for the ease of eating out. However, I once again feel so much worse than I did when being plant-focused. About a month ago, I started transitioning back into plants, and I feel so much better already. I discovered a red lentil soup recipe I love, and a butter bean salad that's amazing. I'm glad that FRN came back around at a time when I was ready to jump back in. I do enjoy this format because you can get the main ideas in a much shorter period of time. Thank you so much, Elise. So great to have you back. And a lot of folks find that it's not a one-way street. The journey of healthy eating is a process. And sometimes you take 2 steps forward and then you slide back a little bit and then you get back on the horse that threw you, so to speak. You keep going and growing and learning. So if anybody slips or falls I just want to say I love you, we're with you, and you can get back on again. And I actually want to invite folks who are feeling mobilized or lit up or excited right now to kind of pay it forward, to envision sometime in the future when you might slip or fall, and I want you to plant a little seed in your mind's eye that says, oh, when that happens, I'm going to love myself anyway, and I'm going to pick myself up, and I'm going to get back on the path. Think of that like a little deposit you're putting in the bank account for the future, for some moment when you might need a little extra love, a little extra support. We don't tend to slip when everything's going great and everything's perfect in our lives. We tend to slip when things are tough. It's an ironic thing of this world that we tend to fall down when we're already getting beaten down by life. But I want to send love to everybody who's feeling beaten down or who will feel beaten down in the future, to say, yes, we've got you. Let's all together join together in creating a picture of each of us rising to be our best selves again, coming back again, being resilient again, stepping forth again to make the best choices we can with what life brings us. Amanda said, good morning. I just wanted to thank you for this incredible summit. It is by far exceeding my expectations and came into my life in divine time. I'm currently an herbalism student, just about to finish my last couple courses. I wasn't entirely sure where I was going to go with it. During this time, my body has changed dramatically, unexplained weight gain and extreme joint pain. It wasn't until a couple months ago when a girlfriend mentioned perimenopause that it all connected. That, combined with my program and this summit, I feel like I've been given my life back. This is the most clear direction I've had since college 20 years ago. Whole food plant-based diets for perimenopause. How many lives and experiences could this change? Even though I still have brain fog, I feel like you've sent me a beacon of light and hope to get my life back. I thought I was losing my mind and my body. I'm 44 and can barely get up the stairs. Thank you for all the pieces of the puzzle. I feel so hopeful and encouraged to start putting the pieces together for this phase of my life in a way I can show up healthy and proud. Perimenopause doesn't need to get the best of me when I have access to determine my own fate. I just didn't know how to access it, but now I do. I lost my father, suffered a heart attack, and had dementia suddenly this year. And while I miss him beyond words I've yet to formulate, I know this is exactly what he'd want from me. So again, I thank you for this lifeline. Amanda, thank you for being here. I'm so sorry that you've suffered with so much pain. Sorry for the loss of your father as well. And I'm so glad that you're stepping up and participating. And we want to help you to take that next step. I know you're going to use it in your work as an herbalist. I know that you're going to use it as you share your story, and hopefully a story of healing and transformation. So we're going to gift you with an advanced empowerment package. So you'll own all of the summit episodes for life, all the recordings, all the transcripts. Since you're in the healthcare profession, you'll probably also appreciate having source links to studies cited by our experts throughout the series. You'll also own over $1,000 worth of bonuses from our friends and partners. And with the advanced package, you will also have all of the in-depth, full recordings of all of our interviews with all of the speakers in this summit, all 45 of them. And as you will see, there are a number that dive deep into hormone health. And so I think you will find that especially illuminating. So please check that out. Enjoy those interviews. Enjoy the whole enchilada, as the case may be. I know you will put it to good use. Congratulations. And congratulations also to all of our most recent new empowerment package owners. Navia from India, William from Canada, Sherry from Illinois, Catherine from Ohio, Diane from Puerto Rico, Meryl from Nevada, Aminath from the Maldives, Carola from Virginia, Lisa from South Carolina, Rachel from England, Matt from Tennessee, and everybody else who's stepping up and getting informed and getting empowered and owning it for life. Thank you for your investment in your health. Thank you for claiming this so you can have it forever. And thank you for your support of our mission so we can keep spreading the word and the revolution all around the globe. You know, this has been such an amazing summit. We've reached hundreds of thousands of people, and together we're helping to deepen a global food revolution all around the globe. We're changing the way we grow food, the way we process food, the way we prepare food, the way we eat food, and in the process we are reclaiming our lives and we're helping to change the course of things in the world. So I want to thank all of you for being a part of this, and I want to share a few of the resources that Food Revolution Network has created that are here for you as we go forward from here. So first of all, if you're part of this summit in any way, hopefully you're on our email list now. So you'll get our email newsletter with action updates and alerts and resources and new articles that we post on our website and resources that we think could help you on your path. You'll also have opportunities to participate in master classes that we release periodically. My dad and I have a master class on food for health. We have a master class that I host along with Drs. Dean and Aisha Sherzai on brain health, a master class that I host with Dr. Mimi Guarneri on heart health, a master class I host with dietitian Brenda Davis on tackling type 2. All of these are available, and you can stay in touch with us, and we'll let you know when they're released to the world. Also, of course, you can get the empowerment package for this summit, which is on sale through tomorrow as of the time that we're having this broadcast, one more day. You can also check out foodrevolution.org. We have hundreds and hundreds of articles and recipes posted on our website on just about every major food and health and environmental topic in the world. So check it out. You can put a prompt in the search bar there and find all kinds of amazing recipes. Whole Life Club is our ongoing membership community. I've mentioned this already earlier today, but this is really where we focus on giving you a wind at your back so you can keep steadily making progress towards your goals, and so you can tweak and optimize. Every single month we have a theme in Whole Life Club, and it's kind of like a course in that month on that theme with a guest expert interview, with action of the week videos, with checklists to take actions, with recipes that focus on the goals of that month. And themes include everything from sleep to heart health to fighting cancer to optimizing nutrition or athletic performance. And so if you join, you also get access to all of our bank of monthly Whole Life Club months all the way back through multiple years. So there are dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews with guest experts, recipe bundles, action step videos, etc., all available to you instantly when you join. So that's a program that only opens its doors to the public periodically, a couple times a year usually. If you stay on our email list, we will let you know when such an opportunity emerges. And if you get an empowerment package, you can actually join with 1 month completely free on a trial membership after your purchase. We also have films available on our website, and if you stay on our email list, we'll tell you about those films about regenerative agriculture, films about how plants can help heal our lives and the world, amazing movies and various resources, and of course, books. My dad's written a whole bunch of books. You can find them online. I wrote a book, 31 Day Food Revolution, Heal Your Body, Feel Great, and Transform Your World. It's a bestseller. It focuses on simple steps to apply all that we're talking about here. Every single chapter ends with action steps you can take to implement what you're learning, and it walks you through implementing a whole foods, plant-based lifestyle and becoming a food revolutionary. And so those are a few of the resources. Stay tuned, stay part of this movement, and look at how you can spread the word, because we need you. The revolution needs you. Perhaps even the future of life on Earth needs you, needs us to step up and do all we can with every precious moment we've got, with our minds, with our creativity, and of course, with our knives and forks, to be a part of the solution on this planet. Lynn said, just bought the basic empowerment package. Can't wait to share it with everyone I know. I'm also considering attending the coaching program next year. That's another resource, by the way, is our certification program, plant-based coaching certification. We're planning to open it for another cohort in January. If you go to certification.foodrevolution.org, you can learn more about that as well. Back to Lynn, though. Lynn said, cancer and heart disease has plagued my family, but I know there is hope. I've already seen incredible results in my cholesterol, which dropped from 241 to 198 in 2 months after reducing my consumption of unhealthy foods and increasing my consumption of whole foods plant-based. I hope to improve my health even further and that of my friends and family. I'm so inspired. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lynn, thank you. And thank you for investing in your health and in our work with the empowerment package. I just want to let everybody know none of this would be possible without all the people who are investing in our work and getting that empowerment package. So if you feel moved by what you've experienced and you want to own this for life and you want to support us in spreading the word, then the empowerment package could be a resource that could make a world of difference for you. And I know it'll help us to reach a whole lot more people as we stand for a food revolution. This year at Food Revolution Network, we're advancing campaigns to get nutrition taught in medical school. We're working to get routine use of antibiotics out of factory farms and to promote the planting of fruit and nut trees in low-income communities. Our work has funded the planting of more than 500,000 organic fruit and nut trees in communities all around the globe so far, and we're just getting started. We're also developing new projects and initiatives all the time with the goal of continuing to advance this revolution. So when you get an empowerment package, when you support our work in any way, you're helping to advance all of this. So I also want to let you know that Trees for the Future is a wonderful organization, and that's who we're supporting with every purchase that you make of any FRN product. We support the funding of another tree planting around the world with them. So big shout out to Trees for the Future as well. All right, now it is time for the recipes of the day. Every day throughout this summit, you've had access to 3 more amazing whole foods plant-based recipes from Nicole D'Andrea Russert, Food Revolution Network's lead dietitian and recipe developer. So today's recipes of the day are nutty and seedy kale salad with pomegranate vinaigrette. This dish is bursting with sweet, nutty, and earthy flavors. It gives you crunchy and creamy and silky textures, and packs a ton of wholesome nutrients into one simple and delicious salad. You get kale and beets and pomegranate and mixed nuts and seeds. It's a superfood dream team with antioxidants and fiber and healthy fats and protein, and it tastes amazing. Also, we've got the hearty and healing lentil burgers. These are hearty, healthy, satisfying, and delicious. And the bean burgers also offer an opportunity to layer more plant-based goodness on top of your burger or in a sandwich. So you can consider adding layers of leafy greens or sliced tomato or red onion or kimchi or sauerkraut and your other favorite plant-based condiments. We hope you love these burgers as much as our team does. Also, lemon coconut cake with vanilla cashew cream. If you want to get a little teensy bit decadent here, this is an invigorating, naturally sweet treat that could brighten your day. The moist and luxurious cake pairs perfectly with the creamy vanilla cashew cream topping, making it amazing to share and enjoy with friends. Who says that healthy eating should be drab or boring? You can make it fun and delicious. And recipes like this can help show you how. You know, as we're reading through the more than 5,000 comments that have been submitted so far, a lot of people are celebrating and honoring my dad and me, and we do feel incredibly privileged to be able to be of real service to so many people. I also want to hold up how grateful we both are for the immense support that we receive. I want to celebrate my mom, my dad's beloved partner of 55 years, Deo Robbins, my beloved partner of 28 years, Phoenix Robbins, my amazing identical twin sons, River and Bodie Robbins, our extraordinary creative director and script consultant, and a treasured member of our family, Veronica Monet. And let me also celebrate and appreciate FRN's amazing team, including Sierra, Mark, Karen, Anne-Marie, Chelsea, Josh, Liana, Zach, Lily, Victoria, Nicole, Tracy, Max, Lauren, Rodrigo, Rebecca, Jessica, Jacqueline, Mila, Ian, Anna, Will, Rosie, Meryl, Maritza, and all the incredible members of our team at Food Revolution Network who have truly poured their hearts and souls into making this all possible. And also to Galaxy, the company that has produced the docuseries and done the editing and made the music. We're so grateful to the whole team, Stephanie, Kalani, the whole team at Galaxy. And most of all, of course, I want to thank you and all of our participants, because you are making this summit, and more importantly, the mission this summit stands for, possible. And because of you, it isn't just possible. It has legs. It has potency and power. And it's going to move and grow and take root and change lives and help us all to change this world. Bethany said, yes, knowledge truly is power. Continue to educate yourselves and others. Share ideas and food and recipes, time, check in with others. There's so much to gain physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. Spread the wealth of health. Thank you, Bethany. Yes, I love that. Spread the wealth of health. Indeed. Diane said, oh my, I have learned so much. Thank you for making this available for free. being a senior citizen, it is important to make good choices with our money. It is much smaller than what we had through our working time. Thank you. Yes, absolutely, Diane. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you could join us. Nicole said, thank you, Ocean, for this. For every episode, every interview. I live paycheck to paycheck, so having SNAP/EBT is vital. But now the store I use that seems like the health store has radically changed after being bought by a larger company. Now I could buy a junky cereal, but not a fresh cantaloupe or clean supplements with my card. Less and less produce qualifies. Thankfully, being able to shop online, you can find out what and where I can get my produce. And now a lot of farmers markets accept SNAP/EBT dollars. It's so sad that those who need assistance are being directed to dairy and processed food, the government-subsidized foods. They are paying themselves at the cost of our health. Thank you again for the panelists, all the editing hours and work that went into making this comprehensive docuseries. My super senior mom watches and rewinds while taking copious notes, and I hope this helps break her dairy and egg habit. Could you let her know what someone with less mobility can do for belly fat? If you mention cutting out dairy, I'm high-fiving you. Thank you for making this vegan for the animals gal become one for health as well. I am reclaiming my health one meal at a time. Nicole, thank you for being here and for sharing that. I think it is one of the cruel ironies of our toxic food culture that those who can least afford to get sick are paying the highest price for it and have the least access to the healthy foods that they most need in order to be well. I'm so glad that you are helping to buck that system and doing what you can, doing that extra research to find out how to get the resources you need to be well. We bless you and we bless your mom, and we want to make it a little bit easier for you. Yes, we did talk about belly fat, and in episode 6, we dove pretty deep into solving obesity. Hopefully you got to watch that, but we want you to be able to share that with your mom as well, and maybe you can share some of the other episodes as well with your mom. We want you to own it all for life, so we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Congratulations. Our team will follow up with you. So right now, in this very moment, as we move towards the completion of the Food Revolution Summit docuseries of 2023, you have a choice. And I want to lay it out for you in fairly direct terms here. You can continue on whatever course you've been on. And if you do, that will take you where you were headed. And if that works for you, then awesome. That's great. At the same time, if something more or better or new might be possible, if something bigger or healthier is open to you, then now might be a moment right now when you have an opportunity to step forward into the life that can be. What suffering or disease might you not have to experience? What is it that you might be able to step into or create with your life that might be more or better, more vibrant, more juicy, more alive? You know, healthy food is the foundation of a healthy life. And a healthy life can be foundational to a life of meaning and purpose and contribution. How much is that worth? Right here and right now, you and I and all of us in this summit, we face a choice point. The path of factory farms and chemicals and antibiotics and added sugars and processed junk is a clear one. We know where that leads. We can see it all around us. But we have another option. When you bring your food choices into alignment with your values, with what you most want for your life and for your world, something extraordinary happens. Your health can improve, of course. You can lose weight. You can have more energy, better sleep, more stable hormones and moods. Inflammation can come down. Vitality can come up. But you can also feel a kind of deep peace that comes from knowing deep down that you're on the right path. Eating can become an act of love for your body. Food can become not just a commodity, but also a community, a web of relationships. And as you find your place in that web, a kind of congruency begins to take root. You're more at home in your body. You're more at home in your world. When you eat more local food, you deepen your sense of place and belonging. When you eat more humane food, you expand your heart's capacity for compassion. When you eat more sustainable food, you grow in your sense of connection to the whole earth community. And when you eat more healthy food, you are sending your body a signal that you are precious and worth loving and worth caring for. The 2023 Food Revolution docuseries is coming towards a close. But the work and the connecting and the growing and the learning keep right on going. I'd like to invite you to post your comments, your top takeaways, your questions, your struggles, to engage with others in the comments section on our broadcast page. Remember to use the button provided there so you can see the most recent ones that have been submitted. I'd like to invite you to check out the empowerment package so you can own it all for life. And as you hear more from us, stay tuned for more opportunities to join in our membership community Whole Life Club, as well as master classes that my dad and I and our various experts teach, and many, many other resources. This Now Today is about to conclude the 2023 Food Revolution Summit docuseries. But I say to you that our work together is just getting started. On behalf of myself and my dad and colleague, John Robbins, on behalf of the Food Revolution Network and our whole team, on behalf of all of our speakers and organizers, I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for all the ways that you participate in the building of a more healthy, sustainable, humane, and loving world. This is Ocean Robbins, signing off from this summit, and thanking you again. At Food Revolution Network, we're on a mission for healthy, ethical, sustainable food for everyone who eats. We believe that no matter where you come from or what you've been through, the simple truth is you are meant to thrive. The Food Revolution Summit is packed with so many insights that it can be difficult to absorb and apply all of them. That is why we created the Empowerment Package, which includes the entire summit, plus all the transcripts and loads of bonus material that you can refer back to as often as you like for life. We have a mission. We want an end to routine use of antibiotics in factory farms. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school, and we want doctors to learn about nutrition in medical school. We want to slash rates of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity, and to uplift the health of millions. When you purchase the Empowerment Package, you are supporting your health and this mission. And for each package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, enabling them to plant an organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Invest in your health and the health of those you care about most, and help us change the status quo by purchasing your Empowerment Package today.